This week's episode is sponsored by Quince. Shifting my wardrobe from summer to fall is always a challenge. Luckily, Quince offers timeless and high-quality items I adore, ensuring my wardrobe stays fresh and I don't blow my budget. Let me tell you which item I adore. 100% organic cotton fisherman boxy crop cardigan. Go right now to the website and look at the light blue option. Are you telling me that wouldn't make you feel like Sabrina Carpenter in a fall, casual, easy breezy setting? It's gorgeous and it feels incredible, right? Make switching seasons a breeze with Quince's high quality closet essentials. Go to quince.com/BCC for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's QUINCE.com/BCC. To get free shipping and 365-day returns, quince.com/BCC.
Welcome to the chain. This is the BCC Club, and we are your hosts. My name is Kendahl and Sarah.
And I'm Sarah Shower, and each week we go down an internet rabbit hole. Which hole are we getting into this week?
This week we're talking about celebrities and boundaries.
Chappell Roan set a boundary, and it was received pretty interestingly by the internet. And we're going to dissect it and then talk about some other celebrities with boundaries. But before we get into that, how was your week?
It was good. I'm so excited because I feel like I've been traveling so much the last 2 months.
Yeah.
Of a mix of work and pleasure.
Yeah.
I had 2 work trips I had to do.
Yes.
Which is, we've talked about this. It's always fun, but then I leave the week being I've been working all week, but also I'm so behind on so much work because and traveling is hard on my body, whatever. Then I'd gotten COVID recently, so I had to cancel my little birthday trip. But they said, well, you can't cancel it. You have to postpone it or you're going to have to pay a bunch of money. And we were like, okay, we'll go. But so in the midst of all this busyness, we had to go to Mexico, which is a treat, but also was very inconvenient.
Yeah.
Great time. Then after that, we went, my good friend is moving from New York to L.A.
Yeah.
So she did a little road trip with her dad from New York to Texas. And then we flew into Texas, met her, and then did a road trip back.
Okay.
Which was a blast. And we went to Sedona, Arizona. I went to Texas for the first time. I'd never been to Texas. We went to Santa Fe, which was awesome.
Yeah.
And we had a great time. But now I'm back, and I was looking at my calendar, and I was like, I'm not leaving this town, Los Angeles, California, for 2 more months.
Yeah.
Until New York Comedy Festival, which is in November.
Yeah.
So I just feel so excited because I've been very panicked and stressed where I'm just I am so behind on work, and I'm always
yeah.
I just really thrive in a routine.
Yes.
If you were to tell me now, Kendahl, you have to do the same thing every day, Groundhog Day style.
Yeah.
For the next 3 years, I would be delighted.
Yes.
So it's really hard when I have all these random stuff. But so it feels really nice where I can just get back into the swing of work.
Yeah.
Get back into being prepared for things, which is the thing I've just kind of not done for 2 months because I've been so panicked.
Yeah.
And just wake and make myself breakfast. I'm just excited.
Yeah. Okay, so you said that going on the trip to Mexico was inconvenient. When you rebooked or when they rescheduled, you couldn't push it back farther?
They were this is the date you can book.
Oh.
And we were okay. And it was great. It was and it was fun. But it was just funny because we were so stressed out and had so much work and the house was a mess and we were okay, let's go to Mexico and relax. And it was just kind of but it was, once we got there, it was great. But in the moment, I just felt insane. And then, it's hard because everyone's always just film content while you're there.
Yeah.
Which is a great, and whenever I go on a brand trip, it's the same thing. Film a video while you're here.
Yeah.
But it's a fancy dinner they've set up. And I'm you don't want me to film a video here.
Yeah.
All these other people can film videos because they're beauty influencers.
Yes.
So they're or they're doing voiceovers later. You do not want me to put on a wig and scream in this dinner. You know what I mean? And I feel it's similar in any trip. I'll be maybe I can film. And then you get to the airport and it's really packed. And you're I don't want to be you don't want a bunch of people in the video. It's just harder to film my type of content and I feel it's probably similar for you too. Just out and about, it's harder.
Yeah, I think when doing anything with a brand or going to any sort of event as a sketch influencer, like sketch based comedy influencer, it's so different because like you literally rely on the environment for like a lot of the sketch or something, you know, like it's so, you know, you're in like one area or location, there's not a lot of people moving around, you are playing all parts.
Right.
And so now to be in an environment where there are multiple people around.
Yeah.
And it's just like it's not the worst thing, but like someone suggests you do content with a certain like lifestyle or aesthetic influencer, like film content. It's like, I can film something funny with them.
Yeah.
What will they be doing in it?
Yes.
And, and it's like, I'm not saying that they can't do anything funny, but like they probably don't have the same reaction time.
Yeah.
Or it's that kind of stiff acting.
Yes, totally.
You know, where it's like, I hope they play Hot to Go here.
That trend, I have never seen someone do that trend well. Like every time I see it, it is so awkward.
The thing is a lot of people are not, and this is like not me saying I'm super camera ready. When you film someone, you can tell that they're waiting to say the line.
Yeah.
I hope they play Hot to Go. And I want someone who's just like, I want them to cut off that half second before and speed up the clip to make it like quicker. It's just, trying to do anything as like a comedy influencer, it's like, oh, but you don't know who my scene partners are not reliable.
Right.
Yeah.
And you also just have to be, it's just easier to do it in your space. And unless you're like fully fine annoying people. Yeah. And I'm just like not.
No.
And I don't want to like be at a thing where people are like, oh, now she's doing her little comedy video. Like I don't want anyone to know anything that's happening. So I just am happy to be, I have had a great couple months, had a great time, but I'm excited to just be back into the mundane life a little bit. You know what I mean?
I actually just thought of an analogy. So comedy, as much as people don't like to admit it, is an art, right? So, and lifestyle content is, you know, it's very like, imagine like if you got someone who did like singing content and then you put them in a room at a table with people eating and they're like, now you do content.
Yeah.
They could ask the other people to sing with them, but would the singing be good?
Yeah.
You know, so it's like, why would you? It's just interesting. But yeah, so the thing with comedy is a skill. So like, it's like, why? Yeah.
What about you? How was your week?
It was emotional.
What?
But good. Okay, so we have now 5 cats. We've got the 4 kittens and then Dopey, because the mom, Georgia, when she was living outside, there was this girl who kept coming by to like feed Georgia. And so we left, when we took in Georgia, when Georgia gave birth, we put like a note out where like the food was usually left by someone else. And we're like, hey, we took Georgia in, we're fostering her. If you have any questions, email us. Like, she's in a safe place. We didn't want to give away like our location because like I'm not supposed to have 5 cats and I don't know if she's in the neighborhood. And, you know, my neighbors have reported me for smoking by dumpsters. So I don't want them to find out and be like, oh, well, you know, okay. So now that Georgia, all the kittens are weaned and stuff and they like eat solid food now, Georgia, we contacted the girl who was feeding her originally and she's like, I would love her because I fell in love with her. And so then, you know, she started to visit us. And so she, you know, took in Georgia. And so we, you know, the mom is now gone and all of her children. Yeah. But thankfully.
They're upset.
Yes.
Okay.
But, well, they were. Now they're fine. But the girl who picked up Georgia, she's a teenager. And that's not saying like she's a bad parent or whatever. But I'm saying that her mom, she's like, we're still in contact because it seems like she needs help raising Georgia. And so, like, her mom has been kind of, like, calling us and asking about, like, you know, will she stop meowing soon? And so we're trying to explain, like, cats need time to get acclimated.
Yeah, but also it's funny because you're like, I don't know. How would I be able to know if she's going to stop meowing? You know what I mean?
Yeah, but she also, like, is just trying to be, you know, she's a very protective mother and like wants to be helpful. So we're just trying to get Georgia acclimated to the new place. Thankfully, she is technically our neighbor, like down the street. So we can stop by and Naomi and I are going to stop by to like help Georgia out. I do feel sad because Georgia's going to see us and be like, what's happening? I wish I could talk to animals, you know?
I know. And just be like, this is what's going on. Yeah.
Yeah. Like when I was, right before Georgia was about to be picked up, like I was trying to put all the cats in one place and I wanted to like speak in cat and be like, hang out. This is probably the last time you'll see your mom.
Oh, yeah.
And they just were like walking away. And I was like, you don't understand.
This is a really important moment.
This is. Like there are so many people who wish they could see someone for the last time. I'm trying to give that to you.
Yeah.
And so then, but so they've been adjusting. And Other than that, just been hanging around, reading a lot.
Yeah.
Creating content and just realizing stuff. And now I'm trying so hard. This is something separate. My brain, when it latches onto a topic, it like won't stop ruminating on it. And I made the mistake of thinking way too hard about swimming this morning and the sensation of swimming that now I can't stop thinking about swimming.
Have you seen one of those photos of like, I don't remember exactly what it's called, but like right before the water barrier breaks.
Yeah.
So someone's like coming out of the water and they can catch on a photo the exact moment before like the water breaks.
Yes.
And it looks like a weird monster.
Yeah, it's like surface tension.
It's crazy.
It is. I think what's also crazy to think about with water when where the Pacific meets the Atlantic.
Yeah.
And they're like two different colors and they don't mix because of the salt levels.
Yeah.
And so it's just literally like very dark water with very light water.
Yeah.
And they just don't mix.
Yeah. I also saw a video because it reminded me because it was after I went down that rabbit hole of watching people swim. And who knows if this is fake, this part, but someone swimming under that.
Yeah.
Like, and what it looks like from the bottom.
Yeah.
And then I clicked on a search that was about how deep the ocean is. And I know this is not new information, but thinking about how deep the ocean is crazy. I'd never seen it. You know, one of those videos where they just keep zooming out and zooming out and zooming out? It was one of those. And I'm like, that is terrifying. And then one of the comments, who knows if this is true, was a teenage boy said, and that makes you wonder why scientists stopped researching the ocean, which isn't true, but I think they stopped trying. This probably isn't true at all now that I'm saying it. No, but something about they don't really try to deep dive the way they used to.
Yeah.
Because they're kind of just like, none of my business.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's just so much to go through. Like, I mean, because if you think about, like, the Earth, I mean, there's, like, people who, like, explored the Earth, but do you expect every scientist to just keep walking around Nevada until they've literally, with their own eyes, seen every part of Nevada? I mean, sure, there's someone who's seen every part of Nevada. Right. But, like, well,
but even that, it's at
But you
least
can't even breathe.
Right, that's the thing. It's like, even if, at least in Nevada, although with the humidity.
Yeah.
It was so hot when I was there.
Horrible.
You can't really breathe anyways. But you at least could do that and live versus they're kind of like, any scientist who goes down, we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
It's like space, I guess, too, where it's like like it just takes so much to get up to go do one expedition that it's just there's no way to retrieve that much information. Yeah,
I mean, like, you can't really see that far down. You got to have big old lights that can deal with the pressure. You can't really breathe. You get crushed. There's so many things. There's actually really valid reasons as to why the ocean is largely unexplored.
I went snorkeling recently.
How'd that
a couple
go?
Weeks ago. It's one of my favorite things in the world.
Yeah.
I love to snorkel. I could do it all day.
Uh-huh.
And I saw pufferfish.
That's nice.
In the flesh.
Was it big or was it small?
Huge.
Okay.
It was so big and it like freaked me out and I was like, that's what I love about snorkeling. Kind of feels like a better version of gambling.
Yes.
Maybe if you have a gambling, I shouldn't be giving advice to addicts, but my instinct is if you have a gambling addiction, try snorkeling.
Okay.
Because you're looking at mostly nothing. Like you're down there and you're like, yeah, I've seen these rocks. There's like tiny little fish going around, but at any moment you could see something crazy. You know what I mean? Like, or you couldn't, but you could scuba dive for 2 hours and it goes by so quickly because the whole time you're like, what if in 2 seconds a stingray comes out of this rock?
Yes.
I don't think they even live in rocks, but
I don't know.
Or a shark.
Yeah.
Or anything could happen at any time. So it was very cool where it was like, I hadn't really seen anything and I was like, all right, maybe I should pack it in. And I was renting my snorkeling gear.
Yes.
So I had to give it back soon.
Uh-huh.
And then a pufferfish came. And it was so big. And then I kind of realized, I was like, I don't really know anything about pufferfish. And it fully turned to me and made like direct eye contact with me.
Yeah.
And I was like, maybe this is one of those things where like pufferfish are the most deadly animal of all time or something. And I just forgot.
Yeah.
But he was very nice.
Well, I think actually that probably does have a very loose tie with gambling. I think it's intermittent reinforcement where it's like, you keep like like mice would like press a button, but only randomly would they get a treat. So they just kept pressing the button. And that's the same with gambling. Like you're addicted to the fact that you could get something. And so like, yeah, if you go snorkeling, you could see a stingray or you couldn't.
Yeah, because I'm always like, how am I having so much fun? Like the whole time I'm like, why am I having the best time ever when I've been looking at the
gambling.
same... Maybe I should stick with snorkeling.
Yeah.
It's like, but there's no guilt after it. That's the nice thing. It's like, there's no anxiety involved. Like whenever I've gambled, which is rare, but when I go to Vegas, I always just do the penny slots because then it feels like I'm paying for like an activity, which is fun.
Yeah.
But I don't really like gambling because it leaves me with a bunch of anxiety. Whereas snorkeling, it's like I'm having so much fun, even though I'm looking at the same rock for 2 hours.
Yeah.
Well, unless you're doing a really cool snorkel tour, which I've also done. And
Yeah.
It was a blast because I love to snorkel. Talk about swimming.
Yeah.
You got to get in there and snorkel.
Yeah.
But then even if you don't see anything, if you see one thing, it feels like you won the lottery. It feels so cool.
Yes. I think it's also like the fact that like you literally have to exit the environment, because you will not survive underwater if you keep doing it. With gambling, the anxiety, you stay in a casino and you're not about to drown.
No.
You don't have to leave the casino for life or death reasons.
Yeah.
You have to get out of the water, or else you're gonna be a big old prune.
A big old prune.
Yes.
And then you'll die of embarrassment.
Yeah. Well, actually, you can't get the bends
What's that?
when you come up for air too quickly when you're snorkeling, and then it kind of like, I don't know, something about oxygen in the blood and carbon dioxide.
I don't know. Wow.
But speaking of oxygen in my blood, Chappell Roan does that for me.
And we're addicted. And we're not listening. Me and Sarah are the people she's talking to, and she says she needs boundaries.
Believe it or not, I am the people she's talking to.
No.
I don't approach Chappell Roan, but I got a cramp in my foot. I went to an event the other day for a screening, and I saw Selena Gomez and Chappell Roan, and I saw Chappell Roan, and I was like, that's Chappell Roan, and then I didn't go towards her. Right, I was like, she doesn't want to be talked to. This is an event where you're supposed to socialize, but I'm gonna walk by her, right? And so then I walked by her, started eating a hot dog. As I'm eating the hot dog, I turned to scan the room. I'm facing Selena Gomez eating a hot dog. So Selena Gomez got the residual fallout from Chappell Roan.
Did you talk to her?
No, I just ate a hot dog
in front of her and looked at her.
You looked at a pufferfish, and I looked at Selena Gomez.
I love the tour of the Any Murders. What is it called? Any Murders in the Building?
Yes.
They're a publicity tour.
Yes, that's what it was.
It's so fun.
Yeah.
The three of them are just a great.
Yeah, I saw them all there, and so that's like the event that it was, and I got to walk around the Paramount lot, and it was really cool.
This week's episode is sponsored by Quince. Shifting my wardrobe from summer to fall is always a challenge. Luckily, Quince offers timeless and high-quality items I adore, ensuring my wardrobe stays fresh and I don't blow my budget. Quince has things like cashmere sweaters from $50, pants for every occasion, washable, silk tops, and so much more. The best part, all Quince items are priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands. By partnering directly with top factories, Quince cuts out the cost of the middleman and passes the savings on to us. Let me tell you which item I adore. 100% organic cotton fisherman boxy crop cardigan. Go right now to the website and look at the light blue option. Are you telling me that wouldn't make you feel like Sabrina Carpenter in a fall, casual, easy breezy setting? It's gorgeous and it feels incredible, right? Make switching seasons a breeze with Quince's high quality closet essentials. Go to quince.com/BCC for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's QUINCE.com/BCC. To get free shipping and 365-day returns, quince.com/BCC.
Do you know Martin Short and Meryl Streep are dating?
No.
Isn't that crazy?
No, like in the show.
No, in real life. Well, I think I don't watch the show, but
Meryl Streep has a husband.
no, look it up. Not anymore.
No. Oh my God, I just lost a bet.
Wait, really?
They dating rumor timeline. They really are.
Yes, I'm telling you, it's so iconic.
Wait, wasn't she married?
Yeah, not anymore. Imagine she's just like fully cheating on her husband,
She's
but being so opening.
polyamorous?
Yeah, she's polyamorous. No, I'm pretty sure they divorced.
Oh my God, that's awful news. I've got to light a candle. They got divorced in 2017.
Wake up, Sarah. You were so behind.
That is over 40 years of marriage. Wait, 88, 98, 08.
But how nice is that now? I'm like, after
39
40
years.
years of marriage, and now she has a new love with Martin Short, who's such a treat.
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't want to, we had boundaries, but I don't know. I want to know what, like after 39 years of.
Well, she hasn't set any boundaries, so you can ask her.
Meryl. Damn. Okay, but yes. So we're going to be talking about Chappell Roan setting boundaries. She initially I'm going to go through this article by Meteor so you guys can get a gist of what's happening. So boundaries, Last week, Chappell Roan hit the internet like rom-pom with a simple request. Please stop touching me. Please stop being weird to my family and my friends. The ask was part of a longer statement Roan released on Instagram, laying out her personal boundaries, making it very clear that when she's not at work, she is fully clocked out and doesn't want to be harassed by, quote, superfans or touched in public. And then this is her saying this: there's a part of myself that is just for me, and I don't want that taken away from me. And as is the case when a woman in public dares to establish a boundary, it was not well received by some. Disgruntled fans posted response videos online, and Rose wisely turned off commenting on the original post and wrote things like, "We made you," and, quote, "It's the cost of being famous," which is just icky altogether.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, so she's even specified in the past that her Chappell Roan is a drag persona.
Yeah.
And that when she's out of drag, she is off the clock. And so, like, people really, yeah, she's off the clock. Sure, you recognize her, but, like, just because I recognize the cash register at Pavilions when they're off the clock doesn't mean I can go up to them and ask them to bag some groceries, you know?
Sure.
Like, that's what they're, sure, it's a tiny ask. It's something that they could probably do, but, like, they're not being paid for it.
Yeah, I think it's like a change, though, that's happening, because I do think it's kind of like that is, well, first of all, touching people is different. I'm not talking about that. Why would you ever do that? I mean, I've had that. I'm not. A lot of people say my fame is very similar to Chappell Roan.
Yes, of course.
No, but even just on my small scale of like being on the internet, like I remember being at this like movie showing one time, and a guy came up to me and like grabbed my shoulders and was like, "Oh my God, are you Kendahl and," whatever. And it is kind of like, whoa, and like it's not really a big deal because it happens like for me someone like touches me like that like once every 3 months, which isn't a big deal.
But
versus like
it's a lot though.
Well, right. But versus like I don't know, Chappell Roan probably was like constant every day, can't get a coffee, can't do anything. But on just the like people coming up to her side.
Yes.
I think it is hard because she's one of the most famous singers in the world right now. She's like so huge, and that is not because it's good, but that is kind of a part of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like and most people have to get like security, and that's why like, Selena Gomez has to live in a house that has a bowling alley because she like can't leave her house anymore. Not that it's right, but I just don't think it's like specific to Chappell Roan. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think it is hard, like where a lot of people coming up to her that are in good faith. I think like that is not that insane of a thing versus like some of the I was like looking up this morning things that have happened to Chappell Roan that I'm like, yeah, that's crazy that people are like stalking her and her family. Like that is not good. I do think that happens to a lot of celebrities, but I think that's like very bad.
Yeah.
But just people coming up to her being like, "Hey, I love you. I'm a huge fan." And then I saw some comments that were like, just like anything else, it's a job. And I'm like, well, it is different from a job. It is a job.
Yeah.
But it's like when you get, I think it's hard when you do a thing in the arts where you're striving to have people know who you are. It becomes a little different. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I also think maybe she recognized, she intentionally created a character. So like she wanted not Kaylee, which is her real name. She wanted Chappell to be seen.
Yeah.
She doesn't put Kaylee on stage. She purposefully, puts Chappell on stage. And I think like something that it makes me think of is like people are like, "Oh, it's just one photo." But people don't understand that it's like for you, yes, it's a one-time interaction, but for her, we're talking about a frequency
It's
issue.
constant. I'm sure.
Yeah. If you think about it like this, like if I was in a relationship with a dude for some weird reason and he asked me to help on one thing, I'd help.
Totally.
But if every 5 minutes, he asked me for help on something.
Oh yeah, it's horrible.
Even if it was small, there would be a small part that was my breaking point. So imagine like her, like she knows that fame could happen, but she wanted to be gay famous, not like, so she could still like walk around and go to Target and stuff. But like, so now there are people like coming up to her like probably every 5 minutes.
Every moment, yeah, I'm sure.
And that time does add up. And so
but that's why I think a lot of people have to get like security.
Yeah.
And it's like, hell, I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm like, I don't go up to celebrities when I see them. It's not like I'm like pro that. I just think I'm like, I think she could have, because even there's people like Sia, for example, where it's like, well, Sia didn't want people to know who she was.
Yeah.
So she wore that, and I'm, to be clear, not pro Sia.
Yeah.
But she wore that wig. I don't know. But she never showed herself. Versus like Chappell goes on the internet and is like, this is what I look like, and this is who, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So then it's like, well, now you're also internet famous. You're famous as a singer separately, but then you also have this huge internet following where people do see you the way you are. So I think it just becomes, do you know what I mean? A little complicated.
I think it's kind of actually surprisingly simple, because I put this into the context of another industry, adult entertainment.
Yeah.
And so, like, I think a lot of Chappell's fans, since they are girls, gays, and theys, they think, since I'm not a cisgender, like, straight man, I can't be creepy.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Yeah, so they'll, like, Chappell even said, like, you know, one of the things that kind of made her put the statement out there is a fan at a bar actually kissed her.
I know. I mean, but that's insane. That is crazy.
But so when I think about adult entertainment, just because you like what an adult, like a performer does during their job, does not give anyone the right to go up and bother them, especially if they've set a boundary.
Yeah.
And so, like, that's the rationale that a lot of men use when they're creepy towards adult performers.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, then, but this is your job, and you put yourself out on the internet, and I've paid, you know, even for like a certain request from you. But it's like, yes, but that is the job, right? Just because maybe I've liked a comment or you've paid for a certain like meet and greet or interaction does not mean that you can come up to me and ignore my boundaries.
Right. No, I totally agree with you. I agree that like boundaries are great and she should set them. I just think it's not in agreement with the people who do those things, but it's like, for example, when people like that have a huge internet following get hate comments and then they come on, they're like, these hate comments are terrible, but the hate comments are from like 13-year-olds in their bedroom. And I'm like, well, your job is being on the internet, and that is a part of it. Do you know what I mean? Like that is a part of being on the internet, is getting hate comments, because you make a huge amount of money on the internet, and people are bad people. And that doesn't mean those people are good or they're right. And if I could, I would go call their mom and be like, don't do that. But I think it comes with like the territory. Touching people is never part of the territory. I'm not saying that is something she should do. I just think it's going to be it's hard to make everyone, I don't know. I think she should just increase security. I guess my point is, I'm like, I don't know if Chappell Roan is in a place to be going out to a bar with her friends and just doing whatever she wants. I do think that puts her in danger, which sucks. Like that blows. But I don't know if that's a reality. I don't know if, and maybe it's fully worked. Maybe if she goes out now after she set the boundary, it's great. But I guess from my perspective on the internet, a lot of people don't really listen to boundaries. Yeah. Which in any other circumstance, I'd be like, who cares? You do you. But I'm like, I just think it's a danger where it's like, if you do get to a certain level of fame, there's a really unfortunate thing of like giving up your privacy, which I don't think is good. But I think is like, it might be over for you getting to just kind of, for the time being, you may not get to just go out dancing anywhere, which is not her fault. It's people who are creepy's fault. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Yes. But I also think, so like this, lack of privacy is, quote, like to be expected with celebrity. And yes, you do have more eyes on you, but things can change, right? Like if more celebrities set boundaries and like people realize, oh, like they actually don't want to be approached, it can spur change. Like she did, she was at the VMAs. And they were like talking to her. I included it in this little doc, but
when he like yelled at her.
No, there was a separate part of the VMAs where someone was like, "How are you doing?" And she's like, "Good." And then she was talking about the boundaries, and she's like, "They are working."
Oh, that's great.
Because fans are not coming up to her as much, and so like that's the fact that, I mean, sure, there's probably the oddball who's I'm the exception to the rule, but like for the most part, people are like, "Oh, this is really affecting her. I like her. I'm gonna leave her alone." Yeah. Like even me, literally. And so I'm not I could be the super fan, but I'm not sure. I don't know where I am in relation to people. But like, so according to her, she has noticed less people coming up. And so like, I think that just sets like a really nice, like there's change coming where there is another post that I wanted to dive into, but like we've seen how super fan behavior can negatively and paparazzi can negatively affect someone. The fact that Chappell Roan was so vocal and so new and so popular, now there's like Hosier and a bunch of other celebrities. Oh, like Madison Beer.
Yeah.
Was like, please don't show up to my hotel and all this stuff. Like these now other celebrities are okay with setting boundaries. And I know that most of us in the world have set boundaries a million times, but like celebrities do influence a lot of younger people.
Yeah.
And so like the Hosiers, the Madison Beers, Chappell Roans, like if they're all setting boundaries, that will start to signal to children like, oh, boundaries are cool. Totally. Like boundaries are fine. And so like it's just, very small change. But I do understand what you're saying about like it's to be expected with celebrity. Like, I mean.
And not in a way of like it should be expected, so deal with it. More just like I think for your safety you have to be real sometimes about like the reality of certain things.
Yes.
And you can like even set boundaries in the process of that. But I'm like, I don't know, like she's so famous.
Yes.
And it is like a danger to like. And I guess to me, I'm like, the people who are like you, who are like, okay, I'm going to really respect that. They probably weren't a big deal to begin with.
You'd be surprised.
You think that you were planning on going to her hotel already?
No, I'm saying the fact that she noticed that there was a decrease. Like, I mean, some people don't realize that they're doing bad stuff. Like, because the thing is most of us would not say that approaching someone familiar or that someone you're a fan of is a bad thing.
Yeah.
However, the fact that she stated, oh, it bothers me. Not all people are evil and creepy. And so all these other people are like, oh, that applies to me. Yeah. I've been in relationships or friendships where someone set a boundary and now we have a great relationship.
Yeah.
And so those people, they were like, let me back off. Now the super creeps are what did get her security. But I did want to say like women should be able to do what they want at all times.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't know if I'm a woman, but if the world was perfect, I'd be able to jog in the middle of the night, headphones on, maybe take my head off,
take my head off, take my skin suit off, and just run.
Like men get to run topless. If and we can talk about boobs and that stuff. I could have my girls like flailing around. That's the perfect world. But like, I know the dangers of running alone, topless at night, with headphones on, and it's not victim blaming myself.
Well, because if you got murdered, some people would, but if you got murdered, I wouldn't go, well, why was she running at night? That's like the difference versus being like, hey, maybe let's be careful before so that doesn't happen.
Yeah. And so it's just like, but change can happen if we like free the nip actually genuinely, truly. Maybe I can start to run with my shirt off, but not at night. We don't know. So change is incremental. But I did want to talk about Matt Bernstein's post. Cool. We are mutuals, and I did link it if you want to look at it. Yeah. But it's an Instagram post. And Matt Bernstein is on, he's very, like, not funny. He's very, like, cool. He's a gay influencer on Instagram, and my Instagram is not opening. But he posted a couple weeks ago, leave women alone. And then on the first post is famous women are allowed to set boundaries before it's too late. And included in the photo is Chappell Roan, Britney Spears, Amy Winehouse, Whitney Houston, and Princess Diana. And so Princess Diana, famously killed by, up for debate.
No, I know what you're saying.
Chased by paparazzis, and, the car crashed, and we lost the people's princess.
Yeah. I mean, horrible.
Did your parents ever talk about Princess Diana?
Yeah.
Yeah.
My family was, this is kind of my mom, but not really my dad. I didn't really care about. My mom was a big fan of, the royals, not like what they stand for, but it's just fun.
Yeah.
Like we would watch the royal weddings. And I remember one time she took me to a tea party that our neighbors had during Kate and William. I always get those two mixed up because it's Meghan and Harry, and then Will and Kate.
Yeah.
When we watched their wedding live, and a big Princess Diana fan. Iconic. And then obviously in my adult life, I also love Princess Diana and am obsessed with her myself. Yeah. But I think it's true. It is a good point, honestly. It's like, I think, there's something exciting about that not being expected. I think when you watch like the Britney Spears. Like when I watched that documentary, it was such a crazy thing because growing up, I thought of Britney Spears as someone who was kind of insane.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because that's just what everyone talked about. They were like, oh, well, Britney Spears had a mental breakdown.
Yeah.
And then watching that documentary, I remember just being like, wow, what a different way to look at it in that it's just like not bad. She seemed so level-headed and fine. Yeah. and everyone was being so insane to her.
Yeah.
And so dangerous and putting her kids in danger, and the way everything was just spun. And I think like now you look at her now and then everyone is like scared for her.
Yeah.
But let so much slide for so long. And so I think maybe there is a truth to like nipping it in the bud while you can.
Yeah.
And just putting out there like this is not acceptable to me.
Yeah.
And I guess at the end of the day, if it doesn't work, that doesn't really matter. You can still set a boundary.
Yeah.
And be like, don't. And if it helps in any way, the bad stuff might still happen, but you can say, well, I set a boundary.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have a like all or nothing thinking where they think like, so if I set a boundary, there's still going to be creepy people who come up to me. And that may be true, but would you rather have 100 creepy people come up to you or 30?
Right.
I'd rather set the boundary, 70 become self-actualized, and they're like, I'm the problem.
Yeah.
And then 30 still come up to me, and then I hire security, which Chappell did. But like the 70 less people is a significant amount of, and I just also like, as someone who is like autistic, and Chappell's not, I'm just saying like, I think autistic people or just anyone who gets overstimulated, like talking to one person isn't that much.
Yeah.
Talking to 100 people a day.
Yeah.
And being on your best behavior,
right.
Smiling.
Right.
This is, being everything that they thought you would be.
Right.
Like, because you know that you're the superstar in their eyes. And so they come up to you and they're smiling and you're like, look like crap. And you just did your best talking to 80 other people. And now you're like, I can't do this.
Right.
I'm going to go home.
Yeah.
And then now, but the thing is, with the power of social media, that one person who loves you so much saw you at your breaking point and they're like, awful bitch. Yeah.
Yeah. It's 100%. I agree. Yeah. That all I was saying is just that I guess in my head, I'm like, when I was reading this morning about Chappell Roan and she was like, I was out at a bar at my friend's birthday party, I think. And I was like, that's dangerous. You can't, and not like, and she can do whatever she wants. I guess I was just like, don't be like, no one talk to me, and then go, like you said, on a run by yourself.
Yeah.
Because I think there is just a reality to like, when you are, which this doesn't apply to anyone else besides like 7 people on earth who are like the most famous singers. This is advice I would only give to Billie Eilish, Sabrina Carpenter, and Chappell Roan, and like 3, and Beyonce.
Yeah.
There are like changes, like your life is going to look different when that is your job. And it's such a specific job and one that like, it's just very, I don't know, even like, Michael Jackson has a lot of faults, but I watch videos of him there's some video of him going to, I think it was Disneyland with his kids. And he's surrounded by 90 security guards and they're all in black and he has a black umbrella covering his kids. And you're like, what is even the point of going to Disney? This is not fun at all. And it just sucks. And so maybe there is a world where like that wouldn't have been necessary if just a couple, maybe you could have had two security guards versus 90. If not everyone felt comfortable coming up to, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's also like, it gets interesting with like actual safety. And I know that this is not literally the celebrity's fault, but it is if you are incredibly popular and just like overcrowding. And I always think about like crowd crush. And so like that, again, that's not the celebrity's fault. It's something that comes with it, but you do have to be mindful of like the physical. And so this is not even for people who's like super famous, but I was on Vine during the MagCon days and I did go to a Playlist Live once. And so during like VidCon and like Playlist Live, usually a creator, especially a super big one, is not supposed to walk around the convention floor unaccompanied because people rush and like crush other people. I remember like in 2016 or something, I was at a Playlist Live and there was a creator that was just wandering around and he was on the lower floor and all these teenage girls and these teenagers saw him and one of the teenagers couldn't get down the escalator quick enough, so they literally jumped over.
My God.
To get down to the lower floor, they jumped over the balcony down, like, past like escalator thing, and then their ankles like snapped. And so they like, and I know that they're,
did they meet him?
No, this is not the creator's fault, but there are safety precautions sort of in place, and especially young people. Yeah. Like, it's just very nuanced, right? Because now there's a lot of moving parts and people can respect boundaries and things are changing, but also like with confined spaces and people getting super excitable. Yeah, it's like I mean, we've seen like concerts where like even when entertainers are working, there can be very deadly situations if the entertainer even at their job does not be like, hey guys, stop moving forward. This person is clearly unconscious.
Right. Also say, I'm not anti-setting boundaries, to be clear. I just think there is truth to like when you're that famous of a celebrity, which most people aren't. Like, I'm not talking about anyone who's in TV and film. There are like 12 singers that are like the biggest singers of all time, and their lives just look very different. And it's not because it's not good, but it's also like, yeah, when you're doing tours that sell out 80,000 seats, your life looks really different.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. And so I would like to point out like how you felt weird watching that video of someone ranking you even an 8 out of 10 for an interaction they paid for.
Right.
Can you imagine if you saw hundreds of those videos talking about meeting you but they didn't even pay to meet you, but they still expected?
No, it's terrible.
Yeah.
It's like, it is not a good thing. I just think it's like, there is, I don't know. I just think it's like hard to not have people, when there's that many people who, like when the whole world knows who you are, you're pulling from a group of everybody, you know what I mean? So it's good to set boundaries, and I agree. I'm not saying I think it's bad to set boundaries. I just think, like I was saying before, I think there should be some still, like your life will look different because that many people know who you are.
Yes.
Most people know 30 people, you know what I mean? So when the whole population of the United States and other countries knows who you are, going about travel should be different. And I only relate it to myself because I have literally no fame, but I still sometimes get recognized in public, and I have to, like, there are so many precautions I have to take in public. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
And I feel like you probably are the same. Like, there's a lot of precautions you have to take to, like, oh, I need to, like, if I am at dinner, I don't post a story of dinner, or like an Instagram story of dinner until like 2 days later. Yeah. Versus like if I worked as a receptionist, I might just post that because I'm not worried about my aunt coming and killing me. You know what I mean?
Yes. I think it also gets to a point, you know, like how a lot of people can't fathom $1 billion. I think we can't start to fathom how much celebrities get harassed. Because like Chappell said that she doesn't post her location, but literally they like got her touring or like work schedule, and they were like, she's going from New York to this place, and so they literally found her flight information.
But that's stalking, and that should be illegal.
No, I know, but that's how everyone like does it. Like, so I mean, just if we could all imagine, you know, there's like period simulators. Let's do like a fame simulator. Like, imagine if you ever walked into a store and someone's watching you. Could you imagine if you walked into Target and you knew that 5 people were watching you the entire time? Even just 5 people, you don't know. It doesn't matter if they know you. This is a social experiment. They were given a prompt to watch you. Yeah. If you knew that 5 people were watching you in a Target, you would start to get really paranoid. Totally. And so even that's just 5 people, right? But imagine 5 people every place you go. Like and so this is, and I understand like fame. This is kind of, but Chappell was thrust into this. So like a lot of celebrities get to acclimate. Like when you build a career, like yes, she has been building for 10 years, but at least like some celebrities, like you and I, like we started off nothing, and then we started to see some people recognize us. Yeah. And then there are moments where people pay to meet us. So we got the experience of building it.
Slowly happened.
Yeah. She was immediately like one of the most recognizable faces in the world. Totally. So she didn't even get that acclimation period of going to Target, and now to just be so aware and paranoid. But I understand exactly what you're saying. It is to be expected with celebrity, but she did not get to acclimate. Totally. And also, but I like that she is setting boundaries. There was someone who, I was going to talk about Christina Grimmie, who,
oh God, it's so sad.
Yeah. In 2016, singer and YouTube sensation Christina Grimmie was murdered at 22 years old when, at a post-show meet and greet, a male superfan went in for a hug and shot her. He had what police described as a, quote, unhealthy and unrealistic infatuation with Christina. Neither Chappell Roan nor any woman should have to, yeah. Okay, so this is an example of just because you as an individual know that you're not creepy, or you know that you won't hurt anyone, doesn't mean that you won't come off as creepy. Like, I have this joke in my stand-up set where one time I was at Six Flags with my family, and I go on Instagram like after I get home and I check, and there are hundreds of photos of me at Six Flags with my family from one person in particular. I go to this person's page. They're a high schooler, right?
Wait, this happened?
Yes.
Oh, God.
Yes.
Jesus.
They took hundreds of photos of me, sent it to me, and they said, huge fan, was too scared to come up and say hi. And now I understand they're scared of me, but that is terrifying behavior.
Is so creepy.
Like,
what did you do?
I just didn't respond, but like for my stand-up set, which I'm not going to keep on here because I don't want someone to try to do it again and be part of my stand-up set, but like the person was clearly in high school, and like I realistically am not, I don't live in the town where the Six Flags was, so I wasn't really worried. That person knows that they would never stab me or kill me, but to get 100+ photos of yourself with your family is weird and terrifying. And so even if that person were to come up to me and apologize after, I actually don't know if I would forgive them, because that is incredibly horrendous behavior, right?
Yeah.
And it was a young man. And so imagine how he might be treating some other women he's scared of that he knows.
No, that's terrifying. I mean, but also I think it's hard because, I mean, like, for example, I've had multiple times someone take photos of me at the gym and do a very similar thing, not hundreds. They took one photo.
Yeah.
And we're like, is this you? I didn't know for sure. And they send it, or they'll be like, they'll take a photo of me working out at the gym and be like, I wanted to come up with a similar thing.
Yeah.
Which feels insane to me. I'm like, now every time I go to the gym, I feel a little self-conscious.
Yeah.
I'm in a very vulnerable way in that I'm like working out. I don't know. It's just not my best look I have.
Yeah.
And so it makes me very uncomfortable. It's only happened a couple times. But I think if I was Taylor Swift, I would never work out at a chain gym. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That would feel not. If you were just like working out at 24 Hour Fitness and Taylor Swift like popped in and was like, nobody look at me. Or like, I think if like Barack Obama went to Target, like you were saying, I would be like, yeah, everyone here knows who you are.
Yeah.
Why are you at Target?
Yeah.
And that in a perfect world, obviously, that is unfortunate. But at the same time, you didn't have to become, I mean, when you become president, you're gearing up for everyone to know who you are.
Yeah.
Not to say singing is the same as being president, but I guess Taylor Swift is a better example where I'm like, that's why she probably has a private gym in her house.
Yeah.
Because versus, I think the internet is weird because I think people sometimes view me or you in a similar light as they're like, oh, they're all celebrities.
Yeah.
Which is not true because we're in no way similar to Taylor Swift. But I think people see those people similarly. So someone takes, if Harry Styles went to Busch Gardens, millions, like tons of people would take photos and film him and take photos of him, and paparazzi would take, like everyone would be taking photos. And I think they see you and they're like, oh, I can do the same thing. And it's like, no, that is very different, because one of those people is, I think there's just a difference. Like one of those people is a huge A-list, lives in a mansion celebrity, and one of them, like you or I, are more normal.
Yeah. I actually have a thesis brewing. So Chappell Roan setting boundaries is a test for people to see if they believe what they say, specifically in 3 arenas. The first one is mommy vloggers. Okay. So children, because of their mother vloggers, become famous, right? And so since the mother perceives the child as an extension of themselves, they ignore the child's consent.
Yeah.
Right? And so they film them anyway. And so the child, just because someone is not, you perceive them as an extension of you, much like a celebrity, does not mean that they've consented. And where it gets especially dicey with children and celebrities alike is that you could film them in places that show where they live or they go frequently. Like how many mommy vloggers have filmed their first day of kindergarten with the kid walking in the school? It's one thing if a mom posts like a really cute one-off photo on her Instagram of this is my kid's first day of school, and then it's just her private her Instagram to herself. But when you monetize, there's money, there's business now being made, and you are frequently filming your child who did not consent, especially in vulnerable locations, you are not putting that person's like safety at the forefront of your mind.
Yeah.
Yes, Chappell Roan is famous, but she's also said that Chappell Roan is not her name, and that's not who she is. Don't call me Kaylee. Kaylee is her separate thing.
Yeah.
So she can clock out. The horrible thing about mommy vloggers and their children is the children can't clock out of this.
Right.
And so a lot of people are like, oh, it is okay to occasionally post a photo or video of your kid online. The thing is, it's the difference between babysitting and nannying, right? Yeah. Like, anyone can babysit. Anyone can randomly post a photo of their children. Not everyone can nanny. And what makes the difference between a babysit and a nanny is how long you're doing it and the money that you make off of it, right? And so, like, with children being posted online, occasionally fine. If you start to make money off of, like, a bulk of your income off of this, then you are disregarding consent and that person's autonomy, right? And so then the second group of people that can undermine this entire conversation, like I said, is adult workers, right? A lot of people, especially Chappell Roan fans, are like, I'm a girl, I'm a gay, I'm not creepy, right? But that reminds me of the not all men conversation. Yeah. If I'm walking alone at night and I see a man pass me, he could be the nicest dude in the entire world. He's married, he's in love, but I am still afraid of him, right? If Chappell sees people coming at her, you could be the nicest person ever. However, Christina Grimmie probably saw the guy who shot her and was like, oh, this guy's he killed her, right? Yeah. So you don't know. And then the third group that undermines this entire conversation where you don't have to actually be famous are disabled people, right? My friend Amani Crutches and Spice, she's like, she's an influencer. But before she was an influencer, people felt like they could go up and take inspiration photo porn, like, inspiration porn of like these people, because these people signify something to others, right? And they're ignoring their consent, their autonomy, right? And people try to touch disabled people. They try to move them because they're like, oh, this is fine. I mean well, right? Yeah. They have this, very weak view of disabled people. And so you're like, oh, it doesn't matter if they consented to this or not. They don't realize that I'm here to help. It doesn't matter if you think that you know what's best for this person in all three arenas, right? And so, like, and disabled people did not sign up to be inspiration porn. No. Like, imagine, you are an influencer getting photos taken of you at the gym, but then plus size people can be like, I literally work retail, and I've been featured on an article where...
But I guess that's what I mean. To me, I feel like I'm not consented to people taking photos of me, and I think it's, like, not black and white, where it's like, yeah, there are things that people do sometimes that I'm like, that is weird. Yeah. That's not acceptable. But that to me happens to everybody, famous or not. Yeah. You have people do things to you sometimes where you're like, no, that is not... Don't do that to me. But I think in a certain sense, when I receive hate comments or I receive people coming up to me on the street, I think there is part of me that feels consent is a hard word, but I did consent to this type of a life when I continuously posted videos purposely trying to grow a following of people as a job. Yes. When I could have done any other job, or I could have done the same job but on a smaller scale. Yeah. I could have done local shows. I could have done there are plenty of singers who are amazing singers but perform with their band at county fairs and do weddings and they don't sign with the biggest record label and be like, I want to be the most famous singer on earth. Yeah. And so to me, there is a consent. Once again, nothing to do with what's acceptable. Yeah. When any of the things I read about happening to Chappell Roan, all unacceptable. Great that she was like, here's a boundary. Like, all of that is true and I'm sure is beneficial. I think there is just like a difference in not consenting to those specific behaviors, but you're consenting to a lifestyle of like, there is a world, not really with comedians. I don't feel like I'll have to deal with this, but there is a world when you are like, I'm trying to be a really successful singer, where you go, well, if this goes as far as it can go, there is a world where I can't go out in the same way that I used to. Yeah. Like, I can't leave my house. And it's not about whether or not it's good or bad. I think it's just like, versus like with mommy bloggers and kids, there's just zero conversation. You're just thrust into this life with it's similarly how I feel about child actors. It's like there's no ability to like decide whether or not you want to be in this life versus an adult making a decision to go into a field where that is an outcome. Kind of like if I was like, well, I really hate being around death, but I'm got a job as a mortician, I would be like, well, that's on you a little bit.
Yeah, I think also, but Chappell also specified that she was actually thrust into a different type of fame. So like
that she didn't want.
Yeah, like she didn't want to be this big. That's what I'm gathering from everything.
That's wild. That is really, I know we've already talked about her, but that's really like, I mean, I think it speaks to like how good she is. Honestly, like her music's just so good that it's like crazy, because I feel like what she has is almost impossible to have.
Yeah.
Like most singers would be like, oh, I'd give anything, which I'm sure is like, once you get there, the grass is greener. But it's wild that she didn't even really want that, and her music is just so good that, you know what I mean? That's just wild.
Yeah,
she's very talented.
I know, yeah. I mean, it's like how you talk about like your online presence, like, yeah, you are growing a following and stuff like that. It's to be expected that people come up to you, but you've also stressed that you're a sketch comedian, right?
Yeah.
What would you do if now, since you, like you've said, you've put some of your life online, how would you feel if people started coming up to you and like asking you about like OCD and like how you're managing?
Yes. Well, but I guess if I knew,
because the thing is,
I guess I wouldn't be that, even if it made me uncomfortable, I could be like, well, I don't want to talk about that. But I also would be like, well, I talked about it online. So the only way for someone to know is if I like set, you know what I mean? Which I guess is what I mean by she does post herself like not.
Yeah, but she's also said that Chappell and Kaylee are different people. And so like, if you're like, you are allowed to, just because you've talked about something online doesn't mean that someone can open a conversation with that.
Totally.
Like, I talk about alcoholism a lot, and like, I love when someone comes up to me after a show and like, they're like talking to me about like getting sober and they like genuinely need help. Mm-hmm. That is a wonderful conversation. I love it. I have had people where I ordered, there's this lesbian wine bar in Silver Lake.
Oh, I know the one.
They have non-alcoholic wines, and I've literally had someone come up to me and be like, should you be drinking that? Like, should you really be drinking that right now? And they were policing.
That's insane.
I was like, this is, okay, first off, you're not my sponsor. I am an alcoholic, yes. And like, there is actually a much friendlier way to show, but like, this is a non-alcoholic wine. And then that night I felt weirdly paranoid, and I posted on my story, I got the non-alcoholic wine. Because like, the thing is that person in LA, everyone is someone.
Right.
That person could then go, we're at this lesbian bar. Lesbian community is already tight, right? Chappell Roan's in a tight-knit community too. But like, okay, this lesbian community is already tight. And so I know a bunch of sober lesbians, right? And so if this person saw me at a wine bar thinking that I'm drinking alcohol, goes to tell that to other people, now online, and just like if I was more famous, it could leak that I have relapsed, right? And so like, people are not forgiving to substance users or alcoholics particularly. Like it would give a lot of people, unfortunately, a green flag to rip me apart. And so like this, that's on a small scale, but like on a mega scale, like if Chappell Roan has an off day and a bunch of people like, come up and they're like, Kaylee, which she's asked people not to call her by, and now a boundary's already been crossed, and now she's trying to back out of it. And they didn't get their 45-second hug. Now it's just like, and it happens a lot. Like, I think that we can't imagine. I don't think she wanted to be this famous. And what you're saying does make sense. Yes, it is a huge factor, and there's literally safety risks for people involved. So, like, you should probably hire security, because, like, I understand personal preference. You don't want security, but people can and have gotten hurt. And that's not your fault, but you do need to be aware of things.
Well, because that's like, I think it gets so black and white of this, like, don't victim blame. It's like 100%, but there's a reason we have airport security. It would be weird if I went to the airport and they were like, well, we're not doing airport security because if everything went the way we wanted it to, no one would hurt anyone. And I was like, I would be like, okay, I'm not getting on this plane. Thank you so much. There's so many safety precautions throughout all of life that are just to keep you a little more safe based on like facts of your specific life. And so it's not about, I guess when it becomes victim blaming is if something were to happen and I would go, well, what was Chappell Roan doing out and about? Like, I would never say that. There's absolutely nothing. It is not, and it's not, if she doesn't want to, it's not her job to do. She can do whatever she wants. I just am saying, like, there is safety precautions that have to come when you reach a certain level of fame that, is not anybody. Yeah, in a perfect world, it just like wouldn't have to exist.
Yeah.
But we don't live in like a perfect world.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that if you did that thing, I would be like, well, that's on you. But it just is like, for your safety, maybe be like, but it sounds like she is. So it doesn't really matter. I mean, it sounds like she's doing everything great. I think the boundaries are great. I just think it is like hard being one of 7 of the biggest singers on earth.
Yeah.
Like that life is going to come with so much hardship.
Yeah.
And it's going to be hard. And I don't think it's like unrelated to anyone else or any other circumstance where it's like, it'd be like if I was like, well, I'm going to, like, I just think it's so specific to these few singers that have amassed like a true like stardom, like worldwide stardom, where they can go to any country and sell out all. It's such a different life that just your life is different now. And that I think is hard. I can't even know. I don't even know how hard it is. I'm sure I can't even begin to imagine, but it's just different.
Yeah, I think I understand what you're saying. The thing is, all the stuff you're saying, we could remove Chappell Roan from the conversation and apply it to like celebrities. So you're talking about like a rule of thumb in general. And like, yes, Chappell was thrust into this. Maybe she didn't fathom, because we all can't fathom like that level of fame. Yeah. And so then I just think the best that we all can do is try to like, as much as we're not celebrities, she hasn't fully immersed herself mentally as a celebrity, so we can relate to that point. Like she will eventually be fully mentally immersed in celebrity. But like if we all think about if you're like neurodivergent and a bunch of people came up to you and expected you to be on your best behavior, that's when we would clock out. Anyone who's worked at a certain time and you clock out and someone asks you to do one more thing, you're not paying me, right? We can all relate in that way. Disabled people, you just went outside and you happen to look vulnerable to someone who thinks that you can't take control of your own life. And so you realize that would be frustrating. Children who've been filmed or people who've been filmed without their consent, right? Or like anyone who's those girls who wore Bermuda shorts who are plus size, who wore Bermuda shorts to Disney. God, yeah. You didn't consent to that. We all can like put ourselves in Chappell Roan's spot, and she individually has to acclimate. But I think for all like right now with the boundary setting, we all, instead of like, as much as we like Chappell, we can be like, yeah, that would be annoying as hell. And the thing is it will weed out. Chappell will still obviously have to worry about the actual stalkers. Yeah. But the thing is you can't even be like, oh, I'm not one of them. She's not talking to me. Just abide by the boundary. The stalkers will. There's a whole nother thing. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if I probably saw her before that, I might have been like, I love your music.
I'm gonna follow her with a camera.
I probably would have stalked her. No, I just probably would have. Maybe if I saw her at a work event, I could have been like. I probably wouldn't have said anything. I hate talking. I get nervous. But I might have said that, but now I probably wouldn't. Which maybe that is what she wants, is just like less people in general.
You just actually said something that I don't know if you said at a work event. I saw her at a work event.
So right.
Where she was working. So I didn't pay to get in. Could I have said hi?
Probably. I mean, I think it's hard because what I will also say is clocking in. This is what's so hard about the whole thing. Yeah. And I honestly just take Chappell out of it because it is not, I just think it's like, that's great she set boundaries. Yeah. I don't want it to be like I'm being like...
No, I understand.
She has to deal with whatever. I don't think that at all. I think it's just there is a difference between a person who's like a normal working person and a person who is Taylor Swift level famous. Like that is just it's like so incomparable and it comes with so much baggage. And like famously people are like, yeah, Hollywood will kill you. It's horrible. Like it's a really bad industry and it's scary and it's dangerous, all of that, whatever. But I think when you talk about like the people at Disney, that I think it was so horrible when they like took photos of those people have not consented to any publicity in any capacity. Yeah. And they have never asked to be anywhere and they're not being paid for it at all. And I think when it comes to like clocking in and clocking out, I think that term is like people who are getting paid by the hour. So like when I used to work at a restaurant, I'd be like, yeah, I'm not doing work after I clock out because I'm not getting paid versus I guess I would hesitate to say that even as myself now because I'm like, well, I'm not getting paid by the hour. I'm always being paid money for a bunch of different things that are happening while I'm not even like videos that I have put on the internet. Do you know what I mean? And I'm making, well, I guess like Taylor Swift is making significantly more money than anyone on earth.
Yeah.
So it feels like you can't always clock out when you aren't being paid. You're always being paid. Do you know what I mean?
The gigs are the thing that pays you. I think it's actually kind of dicey now because there are categories of people who can't clock out, and it does kill them. Like,
what do you mean?
Moms can't clock out.
Well, sure. I don't think they shouldn't be able to take a break. I'm just saying in terms of like, there are little bits like you should always be able to take breaks, and I don't think you should be able to like work through the night and not sleep, and you should be able to be like, I'm done working at 5. Like, that's what I'm done working at 5 and I'm not working after 5.
Yeah.
But in terms of like if like Taylor Swift was being like, the second I'm off stage, no one speak to me because I'm not working anymore. I just think it becomes a little more complicated than someone who works at Dairy Queen and is like, I'm literally not being paid anymore.
Yeah.
I'm not going to refill the milk. You know what I mean?
Yes. Okay. I think that this is kind of getting into, so there's this book called Burnout by Emily Nagoski. There's something that is called the human giver syndrome, where women are supposed to give and give and give. Men do jobs like fix the mailbox or mow the lawn because it's one-off things. Mm-hmm. And so like women do a lot of invisible labor, right? Men don't realize what they have until it's gone when the house becomes dirty and horrendous, right? And so like with women, feminine labor is small task after small task after small task. And so like a lot of people feel comfortable asking for small, tiny tasks. But the thing is we think it's a lot of people asking for small things. And so what happens with Chappell Roan is that when she clocks out, she would then have to hide, right? Which does restrict her freedom. Mm-hmm. A lot of people say like, oh, like gay people like aren't oppressed because you cannot dress gay, you cannot look gay. But the thing is yes, I can survive, but I am not fully expressing myself. I'm not fully free. If I saw someone gender nonconforming and I was like, if you didn't want to get discriminated against, don't look like that. Mm-hmm. They could go and change to a dress how society would want them to, but are they actually free? So Chappell Roan, yeah, like if she can go home and not go to Target, but she can't. Being stuck in your house, we all were in quarantine. It's like draining, right?
Sure.
And so the thing is with feminine tasks, like, okay, think of Chappell Roan as a mom, right? Then, okay, if a stay-at-home mom, cleaning my house is fine. I love doing it. But if Naomi came home and just didn't help, just got it dirty or asked me for something, and I had 3 kids, and then my 3 kids are just asking me for stuff, and I can't get a moment alone to myself, and if I get a moment alone, I'm locked in the bathroom. Is that freedom, right?
Yeah.
Mothers need breaks. Celebrities need breaks. Yes, they are well known, right? And if you put the parallel up with like a child asking a mom for something, yes, that is your mom, but your mom is a human being too, right? Like you signed up to be a mom. You either got pregnant or surrogacy or what have you. But if the only time that if your family was like, do this for me, do these little things for me, and the only time you got alone to yourself, you were just locked in a bathroom, you'd have a mental break, right? And so I think I understand what you're saying, and I understand that it's expected of celebrity. But the thing is, with like female celebrities especially, and gay celebrities, like gay men think that they can cross anyone's boundaries because they're not attracted to, sapphics can definitely cross boundaries, right? Like when I was at the Pride thing, it was like Dyke Day or something. I had 2 people come up to me and like literally grab me and say it's fine. Neither of them are men, right? They thought that was fine. And for that to keep happening, and the only place if I were to be alone and have time to myself was locked in the bathroom, then I am not free.
No, that's not appropriate. People touching you like that is not appropriate. But that wouldn't be appropriate in any circumstance. I guess to me it's like, well then nobody's free because bad things can happen all the time, and the only way we'd be safe is if we locked ourselves in a room.
Yes.
But I guess it's like those individual things are not acceptable, and those people should face consequences for ever physically assaulting or stalking someone. Like that is so unacceptable. I guess so I think I just agree with you. I'm not saying I don't disagree with you on anything. I think it's just more like it's not about them being that they should be able to do all of that.
Yeah.
It's just more about like that is what it's like it is a hard truth that maybe this, which it sounds like it's helping if she's having boundaries. I think what's hard is like stay-at-home moms don't get paid. So then they're also like, I guess it would be different if they're
well, they should get paid.
I agree with you. But if they were getting paid $10 million a year, like, or whatever Taylor Swift's salary, which I'm sure is a lot more than that. I don't know.
Yeah.
She's a billionaire. I don't know. That it changes a lot of it, because I think a lot of the freedom too comes like you don't have any autonomy in your finances or freedom in the way that you go about things.
Yeah.
And I don't think anyone should have to work 24/7 by any means. That's not what I was trying to say. I'm not trying to say it's like, oh, you shouldn't be able to clock out. I just think there are jobs where you clock out and there are jobs where you don't clock out.
Yeah.
But you take a lot of breaks. Debatably, way more breaks than people who are clocking in and clocking out.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I clock out. When I'm on vacation, sometimes I've got to send an email, but I get to go on a 5-day vacation. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it feels like a luxury, I guess is my point. I think it is a luxury to not work a job where you're clocking in and clocking out. And when you're on the clock, you're getting paid minimum wage to do these things. And then when you clock out, it literally is insane to ask someone to do something when they're not being paid, versus a job where you're continually being paid for millions of different, whether it's merch sales, whether it's concert sales, or your TikTok, or your whatever it is. It like you work in a different way,
Okay.
I guess.
Well, then what about a stay-at-home mom whose husband does provide like rent, meals, electric bill, like all these bills are paid for. So technically they are getting reimbursed. Their health insurance is covered. Could they ask for space?
Of course.
Yeah. So they're.
But that's still it's not black and white. Like, I guess that's what I mean. It's like, of course, like I'm not saying that people should be able to face any abuse.
Yeah.
In that they should not be allowed to sit down because they're a singer. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm just saying that there are safety things. I basically agree with you 100%. Yeah. I'm just also saying it's like she is one of the 7 most famous people on earth, and precautions do go into that. And like most of it is a dangerous thing, and you have to make sure you're careful.
Yeah.
And I think there is a hazard to going out and doing something as if you're just a normal person when you're one of the most famous people on earth.
Yes.
You know? But I totally agree that like if anything were to happen to her, that is horrible and not her fault in any capacity. But it's just one of those and I think it's great that she's setting boundaries. I just think it is a dangerous industry. I think it's a bad industry, and I think people have no boundaries. But you're trying to make, not you, like people are, that to try to set boundaries with everyone on earth is a really hard thing to do, and is super helpful and obviously can like diminish stuff. Yeah. But I still think like a lot of safety needs to go into place for these people, because it's never going to be fully, when you're known by that many people, their bad stuff is going to happen. It's a dangerous job to have. Yeah. I mean, Taylor Swift does not get to go to Target. Like, that's not a thing she gets to do. And that sucks. But also there's a lot of things she does get to do. And also she is like, you know, if she wanted to tomorrow, she could take off she could never work a day in her life again. And she could go move somewhere and live fully a relaxing life. Maybe she doesn't get to go to Target, but a lot of people would say that is a little bit. So I think there are pros and cons of every job. And there are things that everyone has in every job that are really upsetting. I mean, people who work in a hospital have to watch people die every single day. Yeah. And then they have to kind of deal with, I mean, there's so many things. So I think when it comes with being one of the most famous singers on earth, it also is like, it's a different way you live your life, and whether or not you're thrust into or not, there can be sympathy and like truly understanding and being like, that is horrible. Yeah. While also being like, but you gotta, I mean, let's figure out ways to make it like a sustainable, which she's doing, it seems like. So that's great.
The thing is, I know that you're agreeing with me, and this is mainly this is actually where like who I'm pointing this at. Like, I know that there's gonna be people in the comments like being like I understand and I agree with you, and I know that you agree with me, and I think that like a lot of moms, when they become moms, they become their role, right? It's like they are also people outside of that, and I think that's kind of the similar parallel that Chappell's like, I am not just my role here, like, you know, and so like I understand that we understand each other, and yes, as a celebrity, and I think people think that it's only fan-celebrity interaction, but some fans can actually hurt each other. Oh, yeah. And so the need for security is not just for Chappell, because like crowd crush or like people rushing someone. The thing is that as a fan now hurting a fan. Yeah. And so like there can be fans who are incredibly regulated and no boundaries and stuff like that, but also security measures and safety measures have to be in place, because like it's like some other people can hurt other people to get to someone else. And so like, yes, I understand. Chappell's not used to this. There is, you know, her boundaries. She does need security, and security is not just for her. It's all, and security measures are not just for so the artist can stay on stage. It's so that their people in the audience don't actually die. And so in real life and stuff like this. And so I understand what you're saying. I'm just pointing out all these factors. Kendahl and I agree, right? I'm saying that as an autistic person, you get me riled up and I'm going to get granular, right? And so like, yes, like a festival could claim like, oh, we don't need to put security because everything could be fine and good. Yeah. But like you mentioned with the airport and TSA, some people can just want to hurt other people going to the thing, and it necessarily doesn't have to do with the venue, right? So yes, there's
just to be clear, I'm not saying stay-at-home moms should have to stay in a locked room and not get paid any money. I'm saying that that's not what I'm saying. Just to be clear.
No, I understand, and I want you guys to know that I'm eating a sandwich, and I also want you to know that Kendahl is like that Kendahl doesn't mean that all moms should be locked in a room. I was trying to draw parallels because that's what I do.
But Chappell, if you're listening, I know she's a big BCC fan.
She might be.
We're sending you love. I mean, it's crazy. It's insane to be thrust into that amount of fame. It's so, I mean, I feel like in June, I didn't know who Chappell Roan was, which is crazy.
During Pride.
Can you believe that?
What?
Well, maybe before that. But all I'm saying is when I went into 2024, I did not know who that was. Maybe I'd heard the name, was not someone I thought about. And to think about that now, I mean, she really is on the same level as like a Taylor Swift at this point.
Yeah.
Obviously, I mean, Taylor Swift's been around a long time, but it feels like a similar level. The concerts are looking similar. Yeah. Like, it is truly wild. So I cannot even imagine how to deal with that. And honestly, I think the best thing to do is do exactly what she's doing, which is be honest about how she's feeling. I even feel like a couple months ago, she was like, yeah, I'm just having a hard mental health, like at a concert. She was like, I'm having a hard time because this has just been a lot. And I think you see people like JoJo Siwa, sorry, JoJo. Should I come for you again? But when you see people bottle up those feelings of fame and how hard it is and how upsetting it is and how lonely it can be, you're going to end up doing something weird that makes everyone feel uncomfortable. Well, you're going to end up on the front of TMZ doing something bizarre. And so I think if you slowly, I don't know, it seems like Chappell's kind of sharing a lot of her emotions as they come, which feels like a healthy thing to do.
Yeah. And JoJo Siwa was raised on camera, so just the pressure of growing up in front of the camera. But yes, there's so many aspects to this. Didn't you say that you went to a concert where Chappell opened for someone?
I did. I didn't know that until recently, though. Yeah. That was what was crazy, is I saw Fletcher in concert and Chappell Roan opened. And this was last year. This is what's so wild. Again, it's such an insane rise to fame because I literally turned to my friend who I was there with, and he was like, oh, yeah. I was like, who is this? And he was like, I guess he must have said Chappell Roan. I don't even remember what he said, but I'm sure he said Chappell Roan. He's like, it's Chappell Roan, and he's gay. And he was like, I mean, she's like famous in the gay man community. Like, she's like a gay man singer. Yeah. And then I was like, oh, okay. And I like didn't really pay attention. And then she sang, and it was great, but it wasn't something I wasn't like, oh my God, but she was very fun. And I remember she was wearing like, you know, a very fun outfit. Yeah. But I don't really remember a lot of it. And then like a couple months ago, Jordan was like, that was Chappell Roan. And I was like, that's wild. It was a very small venue. Yeah. Like a really tiny venue. Yeah. And she was opening for Fletcher. Yeah. That must feel crazy for Fletcher too. To be like, wow, I don't know. It was wild.
No, yeah. And so it's just, so people blow up out of, it's crazy. I'm wishing you the best of luck, Chappell. I won't approach you at a non-work event ever.
Or clearly a work event. Or but if you see someone eating a hot dog, maybe come up to them because they might want to say hi to you. Yes. Okay? Thanks so much for listening. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, make sure to rate and review. And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And we will see you next week.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.